"Well, I can't mind that exact day without looking at my memorandum book," replied Crick with the same intolerable unconcern. "And even that may be altered a bit. He'll bide to get a little practice in the carving out of the straw yard for certain. He'll hang on till the end of the year, I should say." 4 months or so of torturing ecstasy in his society, of pleasure girded about with pain. After that, the blackness of unutterable night. At this moment of the morning, Angel Clare was riding along a narrow lane 10 miles distant from the breakfasters, in the direction of his father's vicarage at Emminster, carrying, as well as he could, a little basket which contained some black puddings and a bottle of mead sent by Mrs. Crick with her kind regards to his parents. The white lane stretched before him, and his eyes were upon it, but they were staring into the next year, and not at the lane. He loved her. Ought he to marry her? Dared he to marry her? What would his mother and brothers say? What would he himself say in a couple of years after the event? That would depend upon whether the germs of staunch comradeship underlay the temporary emotion, or whether it were a sensuous joy in her form only, with no substratum of everlastingness. His father's hill-surrounded little town, the Tudor church tower of red stone, the clump of trees near the vicarage, came at last into view beneath him, and he rode down towards the well-known gate. Casting a glance in the direction of the church before entering his home, he beheld, standing by the vestry door, a group of girls, ages between 12 and 16, apparently awaiting the arrival of some other one, who in a moment became visible. A figure somewhat older than the schoolgirls, wearing a broad-brimmed hat and highly starched cambric morning gown, with a couple of books in her hand. Clare knew her well. He could not be sure that she observed him. He hoped she did not, so as to render it unnecessary that he should go and speak to her, blameless creature that she was. An overpowering reluctance to greet her made him decide that she had not seen him. The young lady was Miss Mercy Chant, the only daughter of his father's neighbour and friend, whom it was his parents' quiet hope that he might wed some day. She was great at antinomianism and Bible classes, and was plainly going to hold a class now. Clare's mind flew to the impassioned, summer-steeped heathens of the Var Vale, their rosy faces court-patched with cow-droppings, and to one, the most impassioned of them all. It was on the impulse of the moment that he had resolved to trot over to Emminster, and hence had not written to apprise his father and mother, aiming, however, to arrive about the breakfast hour, before they should have gone out to their parish duties. He was a little late, and they had already sat down to the morning meal. The group at table jumped up to welcome him as soon as he entered. They were his father and mother, his brother, the Reverend Felix, curate at a town in the adjoining county, home for the inside of a fortnight, and his other brother, the Reverend Cuthbert, the classical scholar, and fellow and dean of his college, down from Cambridge for the long vacation. His mother appeared in a cap and silver spectacles, and his father looked what in fact he was, an earnest, God-fearing man, somewhat gaunt, in years about 65, his pale face lined with thought and purpose. Over their heads hung the picture of Angel's sister, the eldest of the family, 16 years his senior, who had married a missionary and gone out to Africa. Old Mr. Clare was a clergyman of a type which, within the last 20 years, has well nigh dropped out of contemporary life. A spiritual descendant in the direct line from Wycliffe, Huss, Luther, Calvin, an evangelical of the evangelicals, a conversionist, a man of apostolic simplicity in life and thought, he had in his raw youth made up his mind once and for all on the deeper questions of existence, and admitted no further reasoning on them henceforward. He was regarded even by those of his own date and school of thinking as extreme, while on the other hand those totally opposed to him were unwillingly won to admiration for his thoroughness, and for the remarkable power he showed in dismissing all question as to principles in his energy for applying them. He loved Paul of Tarsus, liked St. John, hated St. James as much as he dared, and regarded with mixed feelings Timothy, Titus, and Philemon. The New Testament was less a Christiad than a Pauliad to his intelligence, less an argument than an intoxication. His creed of determinism was such that it almost amounted to a vice, and quite amounted, on its negative side, to a remunerative philosophy which had cousinship with that of Schopenhauer and Leopardi. He despised the canons and the rubric, swore by the articles, and deemed himself consistent through the whole category, which in a way he might have been. One thing he certainly was: sincere. To the aesthetic, sensuous, pagan pleasure in natural life and lush womanhood which his son Angel had lately been experiencing in Var Vale, his temper would have been quite antipathetic in a high degree, had he either by inquiry or imagination been able to apprehend it. Once upon a time Angel had been so unlucky as to say to his father in a moment of irritation that it might have resulted far better for mankind if Greece had been the source of the religion of modern civilization and not Palestine. And his father's grief was of that blank description which could not realize that there might lurk a thousandth part of a truth, much less a half-truth or a whole truth, in such a proposition. He had simply preached austerely at Angel for some time after. But the kindness of his heart was such that he never resented anything for long, and welcomed his son to-day with a smile which was as candidly sweet as a child's. Angel sat down, and the place felt like home. Yet he did not so much as formally feel himself one of the family gathered there. Every time that he returned hither he was conscious of this divergence, and since he had last shared in the vicarage life it had grown even more distinctly foreign to his own than usual. Its transcendental aspirations, still unconsciously based on the geocentric view of things, a zenithal paradise, a nadiral hell, were as foreign to his own as if they had been the dreams of people on another planet. Latterly he had seen only life, felt only the great passionate pulse of existence, unwarped, uncontorted, untrammelled by those creeds which futilely attempt to check what wisdom would be content to regulate.